home from New York. I don't think I told you guys where I went, but we'll get into that because we actually have a story on it. Also, we're going to be talking about some major moves that Solana is making, and I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on what we're seeing in the crypto markets because I honestly did not expect IPO season to completely kick off, especially the way that it is now. It's just like a really bizarre, I guess, like integration between traditional finance and crypto and kind of what we're seeing in the market. So we're going to talk about that. We've got some USDC news, Circle news, stablecoin news. It's officially like stablecoin summer, which is a really, really weird thing. But anyways, I'm so happy to be back with you guys. And yes, I'm going to be talking a little bit about privacy because I know privacy is not super sexy, but it's important, especially because we're seeing all of these industries kind of merge together. But let's go ahead and kick it off with our first story. Our first story, the crypto markets. Yeah, we had some pretty nasty volatility yesterday, really, really nasty volatility yesterday and this weekend, just because of all the geopolitical things that are happening. And I just hope things get better because we can't do this. We can't do this. But anyways, we'll get back to that. But let's go ahead and talk about Solana and Circle, because this is kind of a really, really, really big story. So Circle and CIPHER announced strategic collaboration to power stablecoin payments across financial ecosystems. And yes, I know stablecoins are not sexy. They're not, you really can't do anything with them besides using them to cash out or to stabilize your trading position, and more so to make P2P payments because nobody wants to use their Bitcoin to do that. And we're actually seeing that live on the Bitcoin network because activity on the Bitcoin network is down significantly. And that's just because big players like MicroStrategy and BlackRock, which we'll talk about in a little bit, they're kind of just, buying all this Bitcoin and holding it. So $90 billion financial services payments and firm CIPHER plans to launch a bank-grade stablecoin on Solana. And in the past, USDC was really, really heavy on Ethereum. And they're going to stay heavy on Ethereum, I think, but they're also going to utilize Solana. And we're seeing the real-time adoption of Solana essentially come to the forefront. And a lot of people are like, Solana's a scam. It's just for meme coins, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you can use Solana for meme coins. You can use all these decentralized chains however you want to. And a business like Circle and CIPHER, they're deciding to use it for stablecoins. So we've got USDC on Ethereum and now on Solana, and it's getting a little bit bigger. But they're going to launch a bank-grade stablecoin on Solana, and they also plan to launch a digital asset platform. CIPHER is a financial services and payments firm, and they serve 3,000 regional and community banks, 10,000 financial institutions, and millions of merchants. One of the leading payment infrastructure providers in the world, Paxos and Circle are also infrastructure partners. And again, Paxos has also released different stablecoins, etc. And their stablecoin, the Solana-based stablecoin, will integrate directly into CIPHER's banking and payment systems to enable faster, more affordable digital transactions and may include a bank-friendly deposit token option. And that's something that we kind of had talked about in the past. But this is actually massive news for Solana. Really, really, really big news for Solana. And I know like you guys in particular, like everybody's so excited to hear what's going on with Cardano and excited to hear what's going on with XRP, etc. But we do have to start paying attention to other projects. Like we have to, we talk about everything on this show, but again, stuff like this is going to matter immensely, especially moving forward. And why? So how can you make money with stablecoins? Well, if you look at Circle's IPO actually surpassed the market cap of USDC. Okay. And why is this such big news? Because, what do you get to do with Circle? What do you do with USDC? Again, it just basically kind of stabilizes your position and P2P transactions. So you can send money back and forth. But Circle flips USDC and market cap, and that's because their stock is going absolutely bananas. But at the same time, stocks are really for traditional finance because they don't allow for a level playing field like crypto does. But that's where people are making money right now. So how do we profit off of what's happening with all these stablecoin announcements? Well, we pay attention to mainstream news. We pay attention to see who's going public, what big banks, what traditional financial firms are integrating these different blockchains into their stablecoin ideas or products. And then we go ahead, we put that on our watch list and we do our own due diligence. That's exactly what's happening. Okay. So it's pretty big stuff. And we also have a C update as well. We're going to get into that. But I got to give a big shout out to all my babes. Good morning to YouTube, to TikTok, to Rumble, and to Twitch. And good morning to our channel members. Good morning to Mr. Dale, to Mr. R, to John Germain, Queen, Mr. R again, John Legend, Gorgeous Alexandra. What else? Yeah, we got a Cardano story too, but let's get into this next story about C. C is something that we don't really talk about a whole lot, but apparently their network has been added by that Wyoming Stable Token Commission as candidate blockchain for WYST. And they're the first fiat-backed stablecoin issued by a U.S. state and will be deploying using Layer 0 core. So that's more big news. And again, this is stablecoin season. So again, you're not going to make money with stablecoins unless you're utilizing yield. Again, if you can figure out how to use yield on decentralized platforms, great. We love that. But if you're going to use a centralized platform to get yield, you just have to be really careful because not your keys, not your coins. So if you're going to do that, I think that it's a better idea to do, to use, decentralized finance. All right. So there's that story, but let's go ahead and talk about the market because what's going on? This is the weekly. C is up 15.4%. Nice. On the daily, everything is kind of back up again. I mean, yesterday was absolutely brutal. Like these are really nice gains, 12%, 9%, 20%. Fartcoin, of course, is up 12%, of course, but things are looking like they're recovering a little bit. And then on the hour, we've got, more minimal gains, but this is good. We're starting to see a little bit of a rebound. Now let's take a look what's happening at Bitcoin. It's a little bit scary for quite a few people. Little bit scary. But what we're seeing now is we saw Bitcoin break below $98,700, or excuse me, break below $102,000, $102,000. Okay. And we got that nasty swing look low to 98,000. We also broke down below this area of support. This area of support, $100,000. And this is when Trump and Elon had their little tiff that they had, but we actually broke down below it. And yesterday, even when we closed down here at $101,000. Now, with that being said, right now it looks like the weekly is still looking a little bit bearish. But we are starting to kind of push back up. So we may have created a new area of support at about $100,000, $101,000. Weekly does look a little bit bearish, but again, that could definitely change. Now, taking a look at the daily is bouncing really nicely here. And it looks like that we may rock up to about $104,000, but I do want to see it close above 102. Now, taking a look at the 4-hour chart over here, 4 hours fighting desperately. So we'll see what happens. And the whole entire market's kind of waiting on this. And again, the reason why we saw a gnarly dip is primarily because of the geopolitical stuff happening on a global scale. And you guys know what I mean. Now, taking a look at Ethereum on the daily. Ethereum had a nasty dump. Like we were doing so well on the 20th. So well just on Friday, a couple days ago. And then now we dropped all the way to $2,100 and now bouncing back above $2,200. So it's looking like, fingers crossed, we're done with the Ethereum drop because we're just kind of starting to make big headways with that. The weekly does look a little bit bearish. So I would be cautious, but again, that's longer term. Taking a look at Solana had a gnarly drop as well, but we're back up on the weekly. It looks a little bit healthier. Solana does. And we have this little downward price action. We could just draw a cute little trend line over here, and to see that we want to get back above 146. Now, Sui hit a really low area here at $2.36, and now we're back up. XRP actually dropped below $2 for a little bit. So XRP looks the healthiest out of everything. We dropped below it to about $1.90, but now we're back up above $2. And we need to really get back above it because the only other time we did that was back over here in April. Taking a look at Link fell to $10.95 in this area over here. And we're trying to fight back to get back up. And Cardano fell as well. We hit 50 cents. So we got to really kind of stay above these areas, these important areas of support. And as far as HBAR fell back into this range over here between 11 and 14 cents. But it's looking like it's heading back up. So what do we do? What do we do with the markets? Kind of just chill and wait to see what's going on. Really, that's what we do. And then we kind of analyze our positions. That's what we do. But right now, it's not looking too great. But we do have some more stories coming up, okay? We got this story over here because there's a lot of companies that are going public, okay? And I'm friends with this person, so I don't know why it's not doing that. But anyways, then this is from Mr. John Dean. This is about XRP. So he says that Brad Garlinghouse said Ripple is not in a rush to go public. Deaton goes on to say they don't need to raise capital, which is often a primary reason to go public. But timing an IPO is also a big consideration. If Circle can hit a $62 to $75 billion market cap, then Ripple, with nearly 40 billion XRP currently valued at $2, i.e. 80 billion, can certainly hit a $100 billion market cap in this environment. And you know what? I agree with this takeover here. There's really no reason for Ripple to rush. Like, they're still going through, they're still going through the lawsuit. And again, the lawsuit's going to take a long time, guys. It's not just going to be over. That's not the way that it works. These things take a long time to finish. And to wrap up, unfortunately. But again, you have to understand, because Ripple was a company that really stood out and fought so hard against the SEC. They're kind of paving the way for future equality and future proper treatment of crypto companies. That's just my personal opinion, though. So I do think Ripple will go public. I don't think yet. I think that they're going to plan it properly. That's just my opinion, though. Also, too, we got some more Solana news. Tokenized shares of Solana treasury company DeFi Dev coming to Kraken. The company claimed the bragging rights of becoming the first U.S. listed crypto treasury firm with on-chain equity in Kraken's X stock launch. So again, we got some more Solana news. Solana is a very important project to pay attention to, in my personal opinion. We've talked about it since last cycle. We're going to keep talking about it over here. But if you don't know what tokenized stocks do, they allow for 24/7 trading and faster settlement. Coinbase is also working on a similar tokenized stock feature. And DeFi Development is a NASDAQ-listed Solana treasury firm. A treasury firm. Again, projects that are focusing on treasuries, you want to pay attention to. Now that we're on that topic, Michael Saylor announced that Strategy bought 255 Bitcoin for 26 million, and the average entry was $105,000. $105,000 over here. And again, a lot of companies like these guys over here, DeFi Dev, that are creating their own treasuries or adding assets, crypto assets to the balance sheet, they're following the MicroStrategy plan. And I also think that these type of investments will also cause a bear market eventually. Those are going to be the kicker once those start going under. So we're going to be monitoring that and paying attention, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. I don't. But it definitely something to pay attention to. And also, Michael Saylor predicts BlackRock's spot Bitcoin ETF is destined to be the #1 ETF this year. And I honestly don't disagree with him. I do not disagree any way, shape, or form with Michael Saylor over here. I don't. It doesn't just because it's just done so incredibly well, so incredibly well. So I don't know. I think that I do agree with Michael Saylor there. I know he's a Bitcoin bull, and I don't agree with him on everything, but it is what it is. Also, Texas joins growing list of U.S. states with Bitcoin reserve. Senate Bill 21 and House Bill 4488 were signed into law, enabling and protecting the Bitcoin Reserve Fund. Only digital assets with a 24-month average market cap of 500 billion qualify, limiting it to Bitcoin for now. Okay, so this was actually marketed all over X. It was marketed all over X that Texas launched a Bitcoin strategic reserve, but it's actually a digital asset strategic reserve. But in order to qualify, the market cap of that crypto asset has to be above $500 billion. Gamer said, I heard rumors Kraken Exchange IPO is coming soon, something to keep on the radar. I don't know if that's true or not. I will ask them because I got a ref link for them down below because I've been chatting with them for a little bit because I'm looking, like, I love crypto.com. They're a great exchange, but I know a lot of people are like upset with Coinbase. So, and I use Kraken. I love Kraken. It works absolutely fantastic. So I've got a link down below if y'all want to use it. If not, whatever, but I do like what Kraken's doing. They've been around for a long time, and I really like Jesse Powell. He's done a lot for crypto. So, but I wouldn't be surprised if Kraken went public at all. I would not. Now let's get into some more news over here. So basically, this is from Mr. Eric, and this came out over the weekend. I think I might have covered it or not, but I want to cover it again. But Eric and James, they said they're raising their odds for the vast majority of spot crypto ETFs filing to 90% or higher. Engagement from the SEC is a very positive sign. So basically what they're saying is they think that all of these ETFs, Litecoin, Solana, XRP, Dogecoin, Cardano, Polkadot, HBAR, shout out to HBAR, Avalanche, Sui, well, not necessarily SUI, but all these other ones, they have a 90 to 95% chance of getting approved. And I agree with them. And the reason why he's saying that is primarily because the SEC is actually engaging. Heck yeah, we got to show ref links over here. Come on. So I think we will get the spot ETFs. It's going to take a while, but end of quarter 4, we'll see. Now, what's this over here? Oh, this is a little update about the XRP spot ETF in Canada, because again, it's live on the Canada stock market, but not here. So basically, 3iQ launched an XRP ETF on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Ripple is an early investor. It has 32 million in assets under management, making it Canada's largest XRP ETF, and they're currently 2. So 3iQ launched a Solana staking ETF in April, which also quickly became Canada's largest Solana ETF. So it's good news for them. But sad news for spot Ethereum ETFs, because they logged the largest outflows in 1 month as Ethereum price tumbles below 2,400. Darn. Also, too, over here, we wanted to talk about what's going on with Messari over here regarding Base, because we get a lot of our news from there. But Base is accounted for 67% of Layer 2 fees in 2025. If you don't know what Base is Coinbase's chain. It's a Layer 2 chain that uses, it's a Layer 2 chain built for Ethereum solutions chain. So pretty interesting stuff. And again, I know that the Telcoin folks, they went ahead and submitted an approval to be one of the first crypto banks. But I think Coinbase will be one of the most popular crypto banks. That's just my personal opinion on that. And I think a lot of other people will also apply to become banks, but I think Coinbase is going to lead the way in that. I think that was always the plan for them. Always the plan. We also have another pretty big story about some altcoins. So let's get into those. But CZ posted this. BNB MicroStrategy coming to a company near you. And that is in response to this. BNB Treasury coming soon to NASDAQ. Hedge fund executives eye 100 million to accumulate BNB token. CZ said a few other markets around the world. I heard about a few different companies doing this. So far, none are driven by us, but we are extremely supportive. BNB is a public blockchain native coin not linked to Binance Holdings, LTD, or Binance centralized exchange. So now we see a company that is called Build and Build Corporation, but it's a brand new entity, and they're basically going to be the first publicly listed company to hold BNB as a core treasury asset, and they want to buy $100 million worth. But they're not a NASDAQ listed company yet. They're gearing up to be. But again, we're going to see a lot more of these companies kind of spin up. They're going to spin up and they are going to create these treasuries. So it's important to follow them. But it's going to be interesting to see, like the competitiveness amongst them. And this is another reason why I think we're in a super cycle, which I'll just tell you why. Because we're not breaking all-time low supports. We're not seeing low supports being broken from like 2020, 2021, 2022. Things are still holding up pretty well. I know that things are really volatile and we're not where we want them to be, but we're getting there. Things are moving. But we have all this bullish news setting up this foundation, plus all these crypto treasury funds. So and a lot of this stuff takes a long time to come to fruition. So it's going to be interesting to watch. And of course, we got some Hedera news. So Hedera Foundation announced a strategic collaboration with the Binary Holdings to introduce Hedera games to a network of 150 million users, starting with Smack Mosquito, and Metaverse Me. And again, gaming is another big sector in crypto. It's inevitable that it's going to happen, but a lot of the crypto games, they just got to get it together. And I think with Hedera Foundation behind them and affiliated, it'll help. So, the Hedera Foundation partnered with Binary Holdings to bring the Hedera-powered games to over 169 million users across Southeast Asia and OneWave. OneWave is a dApp store embedded in native telecom apps, and AR user integration recorded on the Hedera mainnet. All user integration recorded on the Hedera mainnet. Goal is to boost user activity and dev opportunities on Hedera with telco distribution power. If you are somebody who is a developer, go over to Hedera Foundation. They might need your skills for something. Also, too, I wanted to discuss a little bit about my New York trip with you guys. Because it's important. So I was invited by the Brave team to go to the launch event of midnight. And if you don't know what midnight is, it's basically a privacy aspect for Cardano. And this is something that we had kind of talked about in the past to pay attention to. But I'm really impressed with that, with Midnight, the foundation and everything that they're doing. And the coolest thing about it is that it's going to be so interoperable with so many different chains. It's going to offer privacy to people. And I absolutely love that. Love it, love it, love it. Because one of the issues that we see with a lot of different crypto projects is they have their own ecosystems and they're kind of their own bubbles going on. And that's okay. But at the end of the day, we have so many different layer ones, so many different layer twos, so many ecosystems with big audiences, with a lot of loyalty and a lot of members. But at the end of the day, when we're talking about like integrating into traditional finance and integrating into like the real world, you know, making things interoperable, that's what people want. People don't want to have to deal with all these different communities and all this bickering we have. So that's one of the things I like about Cardano. Like also Charles too had mentioned about doing some sort of, the Cardano Foundation, I believe, and again, correct, and the Cardano family, correct me if I'm wrong, please, because I don't have the stuff in front of me. But basically, you know, adding Bitcoin as a treasury asset, which I think is awesome because it's basically showing that Bitcoin is kind of queen bee, which we know. Cardano is a great chain too, but at the end of the day, you have to be able to communicate and be interoperable. And I understand having Bitcoin on as a treasury asset is not necessarily like being interoperable, but it's showing like, hey, we know what's working. We want to take care of our community. This is what's going to happen. And a project like Midnight, even though it's completely different because it's like a kind of like a privacy layer, it's really going to help set Cardano up and the community up and everything that the team has been working so hard to build up for the future, in my personal opinion. So let's go ahead and cover a couple things that they got going on, because that's what we do here. So Midnight's Night token is distributed for free in multiple phases. So you don't buy this, you get an airdrop for it, which is awesome. It's a fair launch. 3 phases: the Glacier Drop, Scavenger Mine, and Lost and Found, plus a redemption period for unlocking. Phase 1 allocates 50% to ADA holders, 20% to Bitcoin holders, and 30% to Ethereum, Solana, XRP, BNB, Avalanche, and Brave BAT holders. Yeah. So if you're holding all that stuff, you qualify for the airdrop, which is amazing. This is how airdrop should be. Unclaimed tokens roll over to the next phase. Night generates dust, which powers private transactions on Midnight. Holding Night means you can transact for free as dust regenerates. Night is minted on Cardano, mirrored on Midnight, non-burnable, deflationary, and multi-chain. Dust is shielded, consumable, renewable by Night balances, and cannot be transferred or stored independently. So basically, it's an additional privacy layer on any of those chains. And the reason why this is so important is primarily because we have traditional finance coming into the game. There's going to be a lot of blockchains aren't really, this is the thing, blockchains allow for you to be anonymous to an extent, but they're super public. And it's okay to be public, but at the same time, we need some sort of privacy layer, especially with mass adoption and everything coming. Because again, if someone walks up to you, they're like, hey, what's in your wallet? You're not going to tell them. So anyways, that's the show. That's where I was. They invited me. It was absolutely wonderful. And you guys know we're partnered at Brave. Brave shills me. I shill them. Because I believe in what they're doing. Their team is super nice. I hung out with a cat from Brave. No, just kidding. The whole team is really, really awesome. But it was a good time. We learned a lot, and I got to connect with a lot of people from working on different things, a lot of different content creators and whatnot. So, but no, I'm actually back home from New York. I love it there. I got to go to my family immigrated from Sicily. My grandma and my great aunt, they lived on Mulberry Street. So I went back to Mulberry Street. I ate at Lombardi's, Ferroa's. I got the 7-layer cookies and just kind of hung around Soho and New York and stuff. I didn't get to see family this time because it was a short trip, but I will be back. I will be back. But anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. And I got a lot of content coming for you. Okay. Oh, Gamer says, going to check out a new Italian spot for pasta marinara. You can't do pasta marinara. You got to have the sauce with the meat in it. Anyways, you guys, I got to get going. Sending you love and light. And I got a lot of content coming out for you this week and today. Bye-bye.